So I'm about to introduce two of my other dear friends in the industry. Tom Kuhn was the legendary head of Edison Electric Institute for 30 years. When we were preparing for this conference, I asked him to send me a couple of questions if he wanted me to convey certain points. And he wrote and he said, here's a question. And it was, Tom, why are you such a slow learner? Because it's taken you so many years to lead the industry to where it is today. That's almost a direct quote. So Tom's presently the chair of the board of Anterix, and we'll be hearing later from Scott Lang, the CEO of Anterix, which is really their credo is that you can't modernize the electric grid unless you also modernize communications with it. And we'll get into that a lot more as we go along. And Tom's on all kinds of prestigious boards. He's in retirement. He's getting on a new board every day. So Wendy wants him to go back to EEI so he can slow down a little bit. And Sheri Givens is she is the head of SEPA, which is the Smart Electric Power Alliance, and she has more than 1,000 members, which represent an incredible cross section of the electric industry. And her own background really reflects the diversity of SEPA. She was you were the consumer advocate for the state of Texas. Before that, she worked with the Texas Public Utility Commission. She was head of public policy and regulation for National Grid, and now is really taking SEPA to a whole different level. And just in case, as a trial lawyer, I like to have demonstrative exhibits to underscore points that I make, especially a huge boast like the one I just made on behalf of Sheri. But last week, she co-chaired RE Plus, which had 40,000 participants in Las Vegas just last week. So you can guess what my introductory question of you might be. And why don't we get underway? Sheri, can you tell us a few of the very special new things you heard in Las Vegas last week?
Yeah. So thank you, Clint, and so great to join you, Tom, and thank you to the Dentons family. I've been around your halls.
What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas.
That's what I'm told, but I'm actually going to bring it out of Vegas and talk about it a little bit. So those that are not familiar with RE Plus events, it is the largest clean energy trade show in North America. We now have 13 domestic events and 8 international events. We co-own it with SEIA, the Solar Energy Industries Association. And so we welcome about 40,000 of our closest friends to Vegas every year. So we will be in Vegas next November at the convention center because that's the only place that can house us because we have so many people. It was an incredible event. I spoke at so many different opportunities. I opened the general session really focused on what SEPA is working on. And, our sweet spot is the states. And so I can talk about, the federal policy ping pong that we're seeing right now, but I can really talk about the optimism of the states and the innovation that I'm seeing there. And that's what I heard. There's a lot of optimism across the halls, whether you're on the trade show or going into a panel event and just talking to people and listening to people. There's a lot of optimism. There's a lot of collaboration that's happening in this industry. There's a lot of innovation. People think that utilities are slow and regulators are slow. They're not. They're making significant strides, and they are really grasping clean energy and not just grasping it, but progressing it and pushing it forward. So it was an exciting time. Of course, load growth, data centers, AI, big topic, huge topic always. Interconnection queues and concerns about that, always a big topic as well. But just looking at the show floor, we started as just a solar show. And we've expanded to RE plus, renewable energy plus, so solar, storage, electrification of transportation, hydrogen, microgrids, anything and everything. Every widget on the system was there at RE plus, 1,300 plus exhibitors. It was incredible just to see the bright ideas and the wonderful conversations that were happening. So it was a great event, and thanks for asking about it.
Thank you, Sheri. And Tom, you're now chairing the board of Anterix. Can you tell us a little bit about your company and what your vision is to have Anterix assist the electric industry?
Well, Clint, I mean, I will tell you that, but I'm going to save some of it for Scott Lang for later on because he's the CEO. I'm just a board member. But in any case, I just want to congratulate you first and foremost because, you know, Llewellyn talked about energy and electricity. You've been at the leadership and forefront of this for so many years, and the great team here at Dentons, and congratulations on that. It's not easy to stay on top forever, but you've managed to do that. And Sheri is great. You were such an incredible major thought leader in our industry and making a major difference. And teaming up with Steve and Puff is an incredible positive thing. I just want to first start out, Clint, by saying, I think what Llewellyn said is so insightful and so, such a great perspective about what electricity has done here in our society and economy. He didn't even mention the economy, but basically, I always said that it was 5% of GDP, but it's much more than 5% because if you don't have electricity, you don't have the rest of GDP in today's society, in today's modern society, and 7 million jobs and all those other things. And I think Sheri talked about the, clean energy and the major growth in that and 40,000 people in Vegas. Well, I remember going to the board of EEI very soon after I became CEO. And I said to him, if you're such an important product, you have, you're powering the economy, but how do you like the reputation of being one of the most polluting industries in the country and in the world? And of course, that time, as you said, there were 75% coal or whatever, and that was a reality. And there was a major movement coming along that said, hey, we need to do something about the environment. But, and it wasn't that the CEOs thought it was a good thing not to be pro-environment, but they said, look, this was a low electricity prices. Coal is providing us low electricity prices. And there were economists that said, trillions of dollars are going to be used, and it's going to bankrupt the economy if we go to a clean energy transition. Well, it didn't end up that way. And we use technology and we use other things to make a transition, and it was a huge difference. And I think, you asked a question, I'll get back to Anterix, is that, what is going to change, this industry in the future? We all have a tendency to think about what are the challenges now? What is the regulation? What is the problem now? But what is it going to change, 5, 10 years from now? I really do think that, it's all about technology. I was in the public policy business for 30 years here. And I'm very proud to be out of the public policy business. I'm very happy with it and be out of the management
You can't
business.
sell that, Tom.
I've always said the three things that change in an industry and economy: technology, public policy, and customers. Okay, and among them, technology is the most important. It is the thing that really, when you look back at the energy, what are the technologies that change? You can go cite them that really made a difference. Now there's some major policies and things of that nature that made a difference too, and customers, and now we've got data centers and customers driving things. But I really do think it's technology. And in Anterix, when I did retire, I said, well, I'm not sure I'm through with my purpose in life. I want to continue to do things that are going to help, where I think I can contribute. And first thing that came along was a call from Clint that said, hey, Anterix is out there, company you know of a little bit, and they're looking for a board member. And I said, well, look, I'm an old white guy in this. I don't think that's gonna work. But so anyway,
Not sure where you're going with that.
it wasn't politically correct, whatever it was. But in any case, I did join the board there, and it is a technology that I think it is going to be so important in the present and the future. Because it is a leader in the connection of, telecommunications and electricity to really enable everything that an AI is going to help make happen in this business. Not only in serving, large loads, but in the utilization and efficiency and cybersecurity. It's the leader in private wireless broadband. Again, we're going to talk a lot about. Coming up here, but if you think of the incredible amount of data that's going to be coming through, and the amount of controls that are going to be needed to manage that, it is going to be incredible. And you want a private network to be able to do that. You want a secure network so you can, not be on a public network where you have to worry about cyber attacks and things of that nature. And the operational efficiencies that are going to come from this thing are just going to be amazing, because you're going to be using AI in so many ways to improve the efficiencies and effectiveness of what you do. So, I just think it's going to be an incredible technology, and it's going to be transformative, and it's growing, and God will talk more about it. But I think it's just one technology out there that I'm very excited about.
Thank you, Tom. And Sheri, it's kind of a perfect segue for you to talk about innovation and AI and everything you've been working on.
I actually want to pick up on a point that he said. He's like, it's all about technology. And I'm excited about technology and innovation, but I'm also excited about policy. So I'm an attorney by education and a policy nerd by choice. And the policies that I'm seeing at the state level, the policy is just, it's so incredible what they're doing. I talk to a lot of young people regularly about what's happening at the federal level, and I try to give them hope and optimism about what's happening at the state level. So I just kind of want to double down on that. We have 17 states, plus DC and Puerto Rico, that are pursuing 100% clean energy, 100% renewable energy. 80% of electric customers are served by a utility or utility parent company that has a 100% clean energy goal. So whatever you see at the federal level, don't give up hope. Hope is there. And I look at what the states are doing. I mean, Maine just passed a new renewable portfolio standard. It's a 100% clean energy standard. Like, they're really doubling down hard on clean energy. Georgia PSC, Public Service Commission of Georgia, not someone you would think about being really progressive on the clean energy space, but they're thinking about AI and data centers. And they just progressed their first large load tariff. One of the things that SEPA does is thinking about our members and what they need. And we just worked with the North Carolina Clean Energy Technology Center on a database of emerging large load tariffs that our commissioners can use, that our consumer advocates can use, that our utilities can use, and it's out there and it's free. And I can't tell you how many people came up to me at NARUC saying, that is amazing. That's what we've needed. Like, we need to see what's happening. So on the AI front, Clint, to your question, there's a lot of really great things happening. I mean, yes, there's the challenge, there's the concern that it's too much too fast, and what are we going to do, and are the data centers going to go out and start their own generation companies? I mean, that's the utilities are wondering what's going to happen here. But I think I heard Llewellyn talking about the rural electric co-ops. They are doing some really innovative things. Rappahannock Electric Co-op right here in Virginia, they just got approval for wholesale supply for some of the data centers in their large load. So I'm looking at the states again. They're doing so much in this space. And again, to the AI, like the utilities are using it for optimization, forecasting. We were just in San Diego and we went to the San Diego Gas and Electric's Wildfire Resilience Center. They're using AI to do wildfire prediction. After that, we did a 5-part webinar series where we, leaned on our members to talk about the technologies, the utilities that are, what they're using, what they're looking at, how they're trying to be more proactive, because this isn't a California problem. I mean, I live in Massachusetts and we had wildfires in Salem last year when I had a staff retreat. It's happening everywhere. So AI, like the future of possibilities is endless. I'm really excited about that, but I'm equally excited about the policy out there that's going to be that glide path for all the great things to come.
Thank you, Sheri. And Tom, before I ask you my next question, I must say that I actually, when I wasn't suing some of Tom's members on behalf of Public Power and co-ops and other clients, I was bonding with Dave Owens and Tom, but I personally watched Tom lead the private industry on the clean energy transition. Back at a time when it was not necessarily popular, I remember speaking with you privately when you were getting rousted by some members that weren't quite ready to hop on that sled. And I just, on behalf of my children and my grandchildren, I want to recognize that and thank you. You talked a moment ago about cyber and physical security. Can you elaborate on that a little bit? Because it's one of the, when you look at surveys, it's one of the things along with turbulent weather and wildfires and such that's keeping energy leaders up at night.
Well, and it should, because it is very scary. And I really think that, we have here, and my son's working out and just starting his new job with a defense intelligence firm out in Virginia. I shouldn't even talk about it, but, we have a substantial group of people that are working in the cyber front here in this country. The number in China, I understand, is around 300,000. Very smart people, and they want to get embedded in the system. They want to be able to disrupt the system, not just worried about stealing your money or your, intellectual property or whatever. I mean, it's a existential threat, I think. And I think that, the electricity system is the number one defense critical infrastructure industry. So I think if you want to worry about where they might start there. Telecom is probably number two. We went through the Grid X exercises every other year with CEOs and the highest level people in the White House, et cetera. And, at the end of each one, we used to say, well, we've got a wonderful way of bringing collaboration from industry and government to fight against cyber and to recover if there's an attack. But we're all working here on telephones and other things, after every storm, after every, what if the telecommunications, what if electricity and telecom got attacked at the same time? And that is, anybody with any brains, if there's going to be an attack, knows that that's the kind of way it might get attacked. And so that's where I think the things that we're doing with, in the telecom area, marrying electricity and telecom, making sure that we have the most private, secure networks to maintain, cyber defenses, I think is going to be an important part of the equation.
Thank you, Tom. Sheri, let's come back to policy. You have, within your membership, you have the ability to bring all the key stakeholders together that need to solve these problems. How are you approaching that? What advice are you giving to your members in that regard as you see huge number of policy issues that really require regulatory innovation and many other forms of innovation?
Yeah, for those that aren't familiar with SEPA, we're a nonprofit, non-lobbying organization. We have about 80 people across 25 states in DC, and As Clint has alluded to, we have over 1,000 members. So who are those members? About 700 of them are utilities, so all business models, IOUs, co-ops, and public power. About 200 of those are technology companies, Anterix, Energy Hub, Amazon, Schneider Electric. And then we're rounded out by, oddly enough, which makes us unique, the utility commissions. We have 45 state utility commissions that are members of SEPA. We have 25 consumer advocate offices, and we have about 40 state energy offices, plus some other NGOs and academia. So what do we do with that? We do publications, we do projects, we do joint papers, white papers with them, really talking about the innovation, the policies, the technologies, everything that's out there that's going to support them and help them. We're not telling them what to do or how to do it. We're just sharing best practices and lessons learned. We're able to do this through our convenings. We actually have a convening coming up. We have fortnightly top innovators next month at the Willard, which I'm really excited about. And if you haven't gotten your invitation, Steve Mitnick's right here. We also have Edison Congress, which meets every year in DC in May. We're already planning for our 2026 event. And there we bring together the regulators, the utilities, the consumer advocates, and the technology companies. We're not looking for consensus. We're looking for conversation. We're looking for dialogue. We're looking for people to really think about what they're not thinking about. And they're going to learn things from each other. And like you said, we all need to learn something here today. We all need to make a new friend. We all need to figure out who that lifelong connection is that's going to help us be successful in the future. In addition to that, we have Public Utilities Fortnightly, which I cannot say enough good things about Puff. Longtime reader, longtime subscriber, and former writer, and current writer, I guess, which is a great thing. We just started launching our day ats again. So what the day at is, we get to go to any of our commissions across the nation or any of our technology companies or even our federal agencies, Judy, and do a day at that commission or day at that company. And what we do is we interview the leaders to talk to them, to really listen to them, to understand what their challenges are, but also the opportunities that they're investing in. We were just at the Massachusetts Department of Public Utilities, met with all 3 commissioners at the time. 2 of those have changed over in the past month. And then we also met with 7 of the staff. In meeting with the staff, the people that are actually doing the work, doing the rulemakings, doing the policy proceedings, doing the hearings, talking to consumers, talking to customers on a daily basis, their passion and the authenticity that comes from those conversations is next level. We're also planning to go to the Georgia PSC in December. In addition to meeting with our commissions, we did a day at ComEd recently in Chicago, and we met with Gil's team, and we were able to go out and look at the Chicago O'Hare charging station. So this was a BP Flex ComEd combination project. And we met with 7 of the team members there. And each of those team members, they just lit up from the inside when they talked about their customers and their communities and how they're working together. And we're able to showcase that, the work that ComEd's doing. Now the Illinois Commerce Commission knows what's happening. Now the other utilities can say, hey, that's a really great example. That's something that we can do. And then thirdly, we're really active with NARUC, the National Association of Regulatory Utility Commissions. We do all 3 of their events annually. We typically sponsor them. We also are invited to speak on their general sessions. We do briefing for the commissioners and all the attendees there. And it's just a really great partnership to be able to share with them, again, best practices and lessons learned. One of the things my board talks to me about is advocacy. And, you know, my team gets a little scared when I say the word advocacy. And I can say from a consumer advocate perspective, I was always there to speak on a bill, how it's going to impact customers, how it's going to impact the community and the service territory, not telling them to vote for or against the bill, but really just kind of enlightening them based on our expertise. And that's what SEPA can do. We can go to a commission, we can go to a legislature, and we can talk about our experience, our expertise, our members, what they're doing, what they're seeing, and really just help commissions and staff understand what's the art of the possible, what's next in innovation, what's next in policy. So it's a great place to be. I love my job, if you can't tell. And thanks for asking the question.
Thank you, Sheri. And by the way,
Clint, can I just weigh in for a
Yes.
second? Number one, I was asked Sheri where she was more than 30 years ago when I got the head of EEI that I could have an organization that didn't have to achieve consensus. Because I always said sometimes the only thing the 2 CEOs could agree upon was what the third should give to charity. But I mean, I think it is wonderful because there are organizations that have to achieve consensus. There's organizations like SEPA and others, Keystone and things that you have, just bring people together for ideas, and you can meld those ideas as much as possible. And I want to again give a shout out to Steve Mitnick. I mean, when he when I first came in, Steve and I talked, and he said, public utility fortnightly and it's grown and it's improved. But I said to Steve, look, I know that public utility fortnightly is read by every regulator and every staff member. And they're the people that regulate my business. So I better read it too. I think everybody in this electricity business ought to read it if the regulators are reading it, because it is a thought leadership situation.
You know, the only thing is, when before Steve took over, I used to leave public utilities fortnightly in my inbox because it was absolutely the most boring drudgery. And Steve had, I see Mike Oldak nodding his head. Steve has really turned it
We
around.
put all those pictures in it, and people love to look at their own pictures.
Pictures are good. Yeah, yeah. You mentioned the Keystone Policy Center, which is near and dear to my heart. And I see Christine Scanlon, the CEO of Keystone, and Judy O'Brien, the head of their energy board. Yeah, because Christine and Judy actually do take stakeholders of all different points of view and convene and try to find a consensus, or at least narrow ideas. And they've been a remarkably successful organization over the years with that. So good to see you both here. Thank you for joining. And she won't appreciate it, but I do want to recognize FERC Commissioner Judy Chang, my favorite commissioner. Judy is the type of commissioner you'll get to hear a great keynote from Judy during lunch or the lunch hour. But I admire a commissioner that is asked to speak as a keynote and then comes for the full day to hear what other people have to say and receive their point of view. So it means a great deal to us that you're here. Judy, thank you.
Thank you.
And Sheri, you should start there seeking to get policy changes,
Well,
or you already have.
not policy changes. We're just here to help. Like we're with the government. We're here to help, right? I do have to say, Commissioner Chang is one of my all-time favorite people. When I was at National Grid, she was such an amazing undersecretary for climate in Massachusetts, and she was always so thoughtful in her approach to decarbonization and looking at all the different pathways, and so generous with her time and reaching out to the utilities and trying to understand, could there be a better way? So I'm really respectful of her. And I did talk to her earlier about possibly doing a day at FERC. So Steve, take note.
And you mentioned something vitally important in your earlier comments, Sheri, and that is the importance of states right now. There's a saying in Washington that when Congress is gridlocked, states innovate and do things that maybe can't be done at the federal level.
And to get down to basic economics, 80% of the revenues from utilities come from the states.
Thank you for that, Tom. It's, we don't, a lot of the conferences we come to in Washington, other than neighborhood, don't really emphasize that. I think it's a terribly important point. We are actually at the point where we will take questions, and then I have a final question for each of you in a lightning round. So any questions from the audience? Jenny.
So talking about technology and customers, what about reliability and affordability? Now the two most common slogan in the industry. So if you can address both. Thank you.
Can I raise that one? Because, Jenny, that's a great question. So I just came back from a conference down in Tulane in New Orleans, and one of the keynote speakers was Drew Marsh from Entergy. And down there, Entergy has always been a leader in low-income home energy assistance because they really have a large group of customers that are barely on the affordability scale of paying their electricity bills. And of course, one of the exciting things happening down there is that they've got Meta's coming down there and building a $10 billion data center. $10 billion data center. That does not include the electricity that's going to be needed and the infrastructure that's going to be needed to serve that data center. And so obviously one of the things that comes up is that, okay, this is going to be great for the Louisiana economy, but what about those low-income customers? What about, can we keep affordability? And Drew said affordability now is his issue number one. I'm seeing that in the EI halls. And incidentally, Drew Marsh is a really super new CEO of VEI. Where I think that one of the big challenges we've got here is we go in places like Louisiana where Drew's going to go from a 5% electricity growth rate to a 13%. Okay, pretty different. Is you got to build a lot of infrastructure. CapEx is now going to $200 billion plus a year for our industry. $1 trillion in 5 years, big numbers. Can you spend all that money and still keep electricity rates affordable? It is going to, I think, be one of the key issues. Steve has always focused on it, and I think that it is possible, again, with efficiencies and technology, with the efficiencies that we're going to get from, the communications to get to AI to figure out, how to do this. This industry is going to be entirely different in 5 or 10 years. Entirely different. Don't think about the way things are now. Think about the way they're going to be. And I think some of the technologies we're talking about are going to be great investments because they're going to be able to use it to achieve efficiencies and other things of that nature that I hope.
Thank you, Tom. Sheri?
And our mission is to ensure a clean, affordable, resilient system for all. So equity has been kind of a central focus of our organization. We're kind of evolving that into affordability. Public Utilities Fortnightly did an amazing issue on affordability that was sponsored by Exelon and National Grid just last year and did an update of that in February. A number of our members are coming to us and asking about affordability because their commissions that's top of mind for them. I mentioned that Georgia PSC large load tariff that was passed. That was to ensure that customers don't bear the brunt of the data centers coming online. So we are constantly scanning the regulatory landscape, the policy landscape, looking for opportunities to highlight some amazing initiatives by our member companies and our member commissions that are really focused on affordability. I mentioned Exelon. They took shareholder money. They're putting their money where their mouth is. They're really trying to help their customers out. When I was visiting ComEd just last month, they had just put out a bulletin to their customers about affordability, and it listed 10 different opportunities for customers to take advantage of to think about how they can really ensure that they could pay their electricity bills. So it is top of mind for our members. We're putting together a number of things for them that we will really highlight that in the months to come. So stay tuned.